Both of these films excel in captivating storytelling about captive people. The Black Phone was a strong Stephen King-esque thriller, and I guess since his son Joe Hill wrote it, the similarities are all relative. This is M.L. Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Counting down the best in horror films released from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. According to me, M.L. Miller. Here we go. Number 10. The Black Phone was released on July 24th, 2022. It's available to rent on Amazon Prime and directed by Scott Derrickson and written by Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill from a short story by Joe Hill. It's 1978 and a wave of child abductions have hit a small town in Michigan. Dubbing the unknown kidnapper the Grabber, the town is on high alert as the number of young boys who disappear grows. But a young boy named Finney, played by Mason Thames, has his own problems. His father, played by Jeremy Davies, is an extremely troubled man who abuses his children, drinks too much, and basically neglects them, leaving Finney and his sister Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw, to take care of themselves. Finney is also the target of bullying, making every walk to and from school as terrifying as his father is. Distracted by all of this drama, Finney has no chance when the Grabber, played by Ethan Hawke, sets his sights on him. When Finney wakes up, he's trapped in a basement with a mattress on the floor and a disconnected telephone on the wall. Things start getting weird when the ghosts of the Grabber's previous victims start calling Finney on the disconnected phone to aid him in escaping. Meanwhile, Gwen attempts to track down her brother thanks to a precognitive dream power she has inherited from her dead mother. The Black Phone combines elements of It, The Lovely Bones, Carrie, The Shining, Pet Sematary, and a few other Stephen King stories that you might be familiar with. This is kind of odd, as the original short story is by King's son, Joe Hill. Still, this combination of bits and pieces of King lore works in making a wonderful mix of horror, suspense, and thrills. The way the Black Phone incorporates these varied concepts, the concept of the kidnapping clown, the psychic child attempting to solve a crime, the parent abusive because of their child's psychic power, the talking with the dead, it's all quite genius. All of these elements work together marvelously in concocting a highly entertaining and enthralling little film. A lot of this has to do with the way the supernatural is trickled into the story. At first, it's just about how the strange dreams Finney and Gwen have and how their father is steadfast against it. Because of this slow drip of paranormal from the beginning, the concept of a phone that can talk with the dead is less ludicrous. This makes a film that basically straddles the horrors of the real world and paranormal feel even and deftly put together. Yes, there are some definite real-life terrors going on, and I'll get to those in a minute, but it takes a controlled hand to make both elements work, and Hill, screenwriter C. Robert Cargill, and director Scott Derrickson are able to do it marvelously. Through some wonderful moments using sights such as a breathing phone and the ghosts of the children failing to look at Finney in the basement, and sounds such as the intensely shrill sound of the phone ringing and the voices of the ghosts coming in as if they are being heard through a receiver, all of these small but crucial touches make the paranormal more tactile and immerse the viewer in this perilous, fantastical situation. At the same time, the real-life horrors are potent as hell. A lot of this has to do with an egoless performance by Ethan Hawke. Name another actor who isn't vain enough to require the film to show his face completely. Hell, even superhero movies have the character who is supposed to wear a mask to do their job has the actor take off their mask every 2 minutes. In The Black Phone, we never see Hawke's face completely. There's an outdoors scene where Hawke's face is obscured either because of camera angle or quickness of movement, but even then his face is covered with sunglasses. Still, in those scenes, his face is gaunt and white, as if he's never seen the sunlight once. That makes the actor's recognizable face unrecognizable. Even though he never bears his entire face, Hawke gives a performance that is iconic and should go down as one of the strangest and most terrifying modern movie monsters in recent memory. There's an intricately pieced together way Hawke plays the Grabber. He appears to have multiple personalities, a la M. Night Shyamalan's Split, incorporating the multiple devil masks to represent which personality he is experiencing at the moment. The mask, designed by Tom Savini himself, splits in two, so there's a part that covers his eyes and a bottom part that seems to represent a particular mood the grabber is experiencing. There's only one scene where Hawk only wears the bottom portion of the mask, a scene where Hawk says that he's only watching Finney while he slept. It's as if the portion of the devil covering his eyes is removed so the grabber is able to look at Finney without evil intent. The rest of the masks, one smiling, one frowning, and one without a mouth, all seem to represent the stages of horror the grabber is about to unleash. I'd love to see a documentary, possibly in a Blu-ray release, explaining the methodology behind each mask and the meanings behind each combination. I love the utter confusion and panic Hawk exhibits when the mask is taken off. It's a quick but wonderful little moment. At any rate, Hawk's personality changes every time he switches masks, and attention to detail that goes far beyond your typical slasher film. The rest of the cast is strong as hell too. Little Madeline McGraw is spunky as all get out as the sassy little sister. She's abused because of the power she has, yet has a spark of life in her and love for her brother that makes you automatically root for her survival. Jeremy Davies is a standout in pretty much everything he does, and this is a thankless role as the abusive father. Again, instead of playing him as a one-note abuser and drunk, the film does a fantastic job of humanizing him. I don't think the character's redemption is 100% nailed at the end, especially the way things turn out, but still, Davies adds nuance to a role that is usually unforgivable in this black and white day and age we live in. Derrickson and Cargill's go-to actor, James Ransome, has a small role. While it isn't as significant as his roles in the Sinister series, Ransome's constant furrowed brow offers a bit of comic relief in this extremely dour film. The rest of the child cast of previous victims are okay. They aren't required to do much, and sometimes the emotional levels aren't reached completely, but they do their part as spectral voices from the beyond. That leaves our star, Finney, played by Mason Thames, who feels like a less annoying Finn Wolfhard, but looks to be the spitting image of Brad Renfro at that age. Let's hope Thames' career fares better than Renfro's tragic life. He's definitely a strong presence and is equally convincing as the fearful teen and the protective brother. This story is about his transformation from victim to hero, and this transition is slow and believable. Thames has an effortless likability to him and lacks that annoying quality you often come across in child actors. I think the wonderful way Finney's world is unveiled to the viewer helps a lot in how much you empathize with him all through his transformation. The Black Phone is not perfect. I think the twist at the end complicated things unnecessarily. I already mentioned the father's redemption arc, which just isn't sold well. I also think that it's hard to believe Finney would be able to make alterations to the room he's stuck in without the grabber noticing. There is all kinds of damage Finney makes to the floors, walls, and so on in his attempts to escape that the grabber should have noticed immediately, especially since these modes of escape are suggested by previous abductees, so the grabber would have known to look for them. Still, these are minor nitpicks for a highly effective mainstream horror film. In order to make it mainstream, the extent of the crimes committed against the children are glossed over in favor of the paranormal calls, but there are hints to all kinds of physical, mental, and possibly sexual abuse committed by the grabber. It's understandable why these heinous acts are not delved into, and the vagueness allows you to fill in all kinds of dark deeds at the hands of the monster. Hawk gives an amazing performance and is supported by some wonderful kid actors. Both the real world and paranormal stuff works in tandem as well. The Black Phone may feel familiar to those experienced with King lore, but it certainly mixes it all up for a potent blend of mainstream terrors. Like Dogs surprised me with some wonderful twists, sending the story in twisted directions. It's very low budget, but it succeeds in the story department and proved to surprise me over and over. Like Dogs was released on October 1st, 2021. It's streaming on Tubi from Terror Films. It's directed and written by Randy Van Dyke. After being abducted on a morning run, Lisa, played by Annabelle Barrett, is drugged and taken to an unknown location. When she awakens, Lisa finds herself wearing a collar chained inside a cement kennel. There she is given dog food in a bowl and treated as if she were a dog. Soon, Lisa finds that she isn't the only one undergoing this treatment when she meets Adam, played by Ignacio Mantinia, who is chained up in the same way a few kennels down. In order to keep their wits, Lisa and Adam form a bond with one another and plan their escape. But what's really going on here? And who's behind the masks of the people running this kennel for humans? The answers will definitely surprise you. Upon first glance at Like Dogs, one might think this is another one of those low-budget torture porn films that basically rely on gross-out effects, high-pitched screams, and very little when it comes to story. But Like Dogs is a deceiving little film. While one might think this is some low-grade version of Hostel, or maybe even some kind of pervy kink show, Like Dogs actually plays out in a surprising and smart way. There are multiple times in the script where the camera pulls back to reveal another layer to what is happening to Lisa and Adam, and then about 20 minutes later, another twist reveals some new and interesting layer. While the budget is very, very low here, the time and work put into the script was definitely appreciated. Just like Lisa and Adam, I, as the audience, had no idea where things were going, and the plot never failed to surprise me right up until the end. It helps that there's some solid acting going on here. Ignacio Matenia is decent as Adam, who has a genuine charm to the way he delivers his lines, but it's Annabelle Barrett who is the real standout in Like Dogs. Barrett, as Lisa, has a real charm to her. There's a spark of unpredictability to the way she faces her challenges that makes her extremely likable. This is no easy task, as she is covered in grit and grime for most of the film, and her character requires her to go through a complex series of emotions by the time this whole ordeal is through. Like Dogs doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it is a great example of how a great script and solid performances can make a film shine despite very little money going into it. I recommend anyone who appreciates a good, unpredictable story over everything else to check out this often shocking and always entertaining little indie horror gem. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Be sure to hit all of the pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.